You know, I don't know if a lot of you guys realize this, but superhero fans today have it pretty good. I mean, there's a wide variety of different movies, TV shows, and video games to pick from, all featuring a wide variety of brand new or rarely seen characters. Studios are constantly fighting each other to try to push out bigger and better superhero adaptations, and it wasn't exactly that long ago when every studio out there was trying to set up their own cinematic universes in an attempt to copy what Marvel popularized. Of course, almost none of them turned out to be any good or even got past the first movie, but whatever, it's the thought that counts. Seriously though, it wasn't always like this. Back in the good old days, comics weren't really taken as seriously as they are now, and fans, especially the ones looking for something on TV, usually just had to take whatever they could get, no matter how ridiculous the final product was.
That's right, Peter. I'm you, and you're me, and this is a gun.
But in 2001, the CW showed everybody that it was possible to do a decent take on a comic book with a little show known as Smallville. Sure, it had its cheesy moments. I mean, it's a show from the early 2000s, what'd you expect? But on the whole, getting to see Tom Welling's Clark Kent grow from an insecure young man to a powerful superhero was awesome. Speaking of powerful, this dude was easily one of the most powerful live-action depictions of the Man of Steel. I mean, we saw this guy casually fucking up cars and buses in the first season, and by the end of the show, he was capable of ripping apart people possessed by Darkseid, racing to different places around the world within a few seconds, and even casually stopping nuclear explosions. A few years down the line anyway. Seriously, how powerful is the Smallville version of Clark Kent? Well, let's take a look and find out. First, let's start with his strength. Now, like I said earlier, even though Clark did start off a little slow, mostly sticking to messing around with cars, we did see him do more impressive stuff over time. For example, in the first episode of Season 9, titled Savior, a train Lois is on gets derailed, but thankfully for her, Clark is there to save the day. But how much weight did he catch? Well, considering the fact that the show was mostly filmed in Vancouver, I think it's safe to say that the on-screen train is supposed to be a Mark II Skytrain, which has cars that weigh around 49,163 pounds or 22,300 kilograms. Considering how we see that Clark managed to catch 3 of them, this means that he caught a combined weight of about 147,489 pounds or 66,900 kilograms. But we also need to factor in the weight of the people in all 3 of those cars too. Now, Mark II cars can hold a maximum of 130 people, so assuming that all 3 cars are full, and that each car has an even split between men and women, that means Clark also caught an additional 74,295 pounds or about 33,699 kilograms. Adding this onto the weight of the cars we found earlier means that the total weight of the 3 train cars that Clark caught was about 221,784 pounds, or about 100,599 kilograms, or about 111 tons. Of course, that's only scratching the surface of how strong this Superman was. Remember back in the Season 10 episode Lazarus when he casually caught the Daily Planet globe? Using Tom Welling as a ruler, we can see that the globe is about 3 Tom Wellings long, which, given the actor's height of 6'3" or about 1.9 meters, means the globe has a diameter of 5.7 meters. Assuming the globe is mostly hollow and is only made up of half a meter's worth of steel, this would give the globe a volume of 42.61 cubic meters. Multiplying that volume by the average 7,700 kilograms per cubic meter density of steel, we can see that lifting the globe means that Clark casually lifted about 723,330 pounds, or 328,097 kilograms, or about 362 tons. Of course, all that's next to nothing compared to the best strength feat in the show. In the series finale, we saw Clark actually fly up and push the oncoming planet Apocalypse away from Earth. Given this shot from part 1 of the series finale, we can estimate that Apocalypse is the same size as Saturn, giving it a diameter of 72,367.4 miles, or 116,464 kilometers. I know it changes sizes literally every time it shows up on screen, but since the FX guys chose to make it big enough to mess up Saturn's rings on the way to Earth, I'm just gonna go with that. Anyways, now we can plug its radius into the formula for the volume of a sphere, which tells us that Apocalypse would have a volume of about 827 sextillion, 129 quintillion, 915 quadrillion, 150 trillion, 897 billion, 700 million cubic meters. And assuming the planet has the same 5,515.3 kilograms per cubic meter density as Earth, we can multiply our density and our volume to see that Smallville's Apocalypse has a mass of about 5 septillion, 28 sextillion, 600 quintillion, 481 quadrillion, 88 trillion, 339 billion tons. Even if Clark kinda sorta moved the planet around, like even just pushing it maybe 1% out of the sun's orbit, that still means Clark could casually mess around with 5 sextillion, 28 quintillion, 600 quadrillion, 481 trillion, 88 billion, 339 million tons. But considering how nobody in the far-flung future of 2018 seems to care about a new planet orbiting the sun, I think it's safe to say that Clark managed to at least push Apocalypse out of the solar system. So how powerful was his casual shove? Well, since he pushed it while in Earth orbit, we can estimate that Clark managed to get Apocalypse up to solar system escaping speeds of 42.1 kilometers a second. And now that we know that, we can plug everything into the formula for kinetic energy, giving us this. And doing the math tells us that Clark was outputting a force of about 966 quintillion, 240 quadrillion, trillion, 838 trillion, 95 billion, 626 million, 100,000 megatons. Considering how it only takes about 53 quadrillion megatons to destroy the Earth, that means Clark could destroy 18,230 Earths all at once, with a single shove. And look at his face, he clearly wasn't even trying. Damn! Now let's take a look at his speed. On the surface, you'd think this version of Clark wasn't really all that fast, considering how he got smoked by a couple different characters on the show, but we did get to see some pretty crazy speed feats throughout all 10 seasons. Remember back in the season 2 episode Ryan, when we saw him run from Smallville to Hub City? There was a sign in the episode showing that Smallville is 425 miles, or about 683 kilometers, from Hub City, and I was able to count that it took Clark about 35 seconds to make the run. That basically means Clark was running at a speed of about 43,714 miles per hour, or about 70,351 kilometers an hour, or about Mach 56.
Mach 50 isn't a real thing.
Shut the fuck up, Season 2 Barry, you don't know shit. Of course, we did eventually see Clark get even faster than that, like a few seasons later. In the episode Void, we saw Clark casually run from Chloe's Metropolis University dorm in Kansas to the southern border of Honduras while looking for a disguised Brainiac. Now the distance between Kansas and Honduras is about 2,661 miles, or about 4,282 kilometers, and counting from when Clark starts running to when he stops, I counted that the entire run took him about 9 seconds. Doing some simple math tells us that Clark was running at a nice and easy speed of 1,064,400 miles per hour, or about 1,712,985 kilometers an hour, or about Mach 1,387. Of course, that's next to nothing compared to the feat we got from the season 10 episode Kent, when we saw Clark running from Metropolis to the Fortress of Solitude while being chased by his Earth 2 counterpart Clark Luthor. Considering how the distance from Kansas to the Arctic is 2,957 miles, or about 4,758 kilometers, and assuming it only took Clark the 4 to 5 seconds between shots to make the run, that means he was running at a speed of about 2,129,040 miles per hour, or about 3,426,357 kilometers an hour, or about Mach 2,774. Going back to the Flash, remember how Barry managed to run about Mach 154 right after getting out of the Speed Force in Season 4? Well, even after getting a massive speed boost, Barry still started off Season 4 by running about 17 times slower than Smallville Superman. Now I know a lot of people are going to argue that Clark was shown being able to run at light speed in the show, like that time in the Season 8 episode Identity when he saved Lois and apparently outran a camera flash, but come on, that's not really light speed. First off, you can clearly see the camera's flash slowly getting brighter while there's already light on screen, meaning what Clark's really outrunning is the time it takes for the camera's flash gun to fully go off. Or in other words, Clark was really only just somewhat outpacing the camera's shutter speed. Plus, you'd think a guy running at light speed could avoid leaving a giant red smear all over Jimmy's picture, right? Now that having been said though, we can guesstimate that Clark would be capable of moving at least at light speed by the end of the series, even without digging for feats in the Season 11 comics. In the Season 5 episode Solitude, there's a moment when Lionel Luthor mentions that Kryptonians are able to move at about light speed.
It seems there is someone at Central Kansas University who has the astounding ability to run at virtually the speed of light.
Keep in mind, this is after he was affected by the Crystal of Water and gained all the knowledge of Krypton.
Your secret is safe with me, Kal-El.
So I'm pretty sure he knows what he's talking about. Even if you don't want to accept that though, we know that characters around the same level as a fully grown Superman, like Martian Manhunter and Supergirl, were capable of light speed movement in earlier episodes. So even though we never actually got to see Clark moving that fast, I think it's safe to say that he should be able to reach light speed, about 670,616,629 miles per hour, or 1,079,252,848.8 kilometers an hour, after finally accepting his destiny by the end of the series. Now as far as Clark's durability goes, we actually don't really get a whole lot to calculate here as far as the higher level stuff goes. I mean sure, we got some cool looking stuff since the first season, like that time he stuffed his arm in a wood chipper, had bullets bounce off of him, and getting smacked through some buildings without too much trouble, but come on, he's Superman. We know he can do better than that, right? Of course, we did get to see him take hits from a bunch of different heavy hitters, like Bizarro, before and after his kryptonite power-up, Doomsday, and General Zod. The thing is though, we don't actually get to see these guys really doing a whole lot when they actually get to do anything on screen besides just making faces at Clark, meaning just using their on-screen feats to calculate a number for Clark's durability would be kinda dumb. Oh yay, Zod Luthor managed to punch Clark through a rock. Cool. So okay, how do we figure out how tough Clark is then? We could scale everybody's punches to the next biggest thing Clark managed to tank, but instead of all that though, we could also just use a feat I talked about earlier to get a low ball on Clark's durability. Remember, Clark didn't just shove away a giant planet, he also stopped it from slamming into the Earth. Remember Newton's third law, that every action has an equal and opposite reaction? Basically that means whatever force Apocalypse was bringing as it was about to slam into the Earth is a force that Clark was able to tank. So, okay, how much power was behind this fast-moving hunk of flaming space rock? Well, we already estimated that Apocalypse weighs over 5 septillion tons, so all we need to know is how fast it was traveling to Earth. Starting from when it was over by Saturn, which sat 797,560,000 miles, or about 1,283,548,400 kilometers away from Earth, and guesstimating that it took about 12 hours to make the trip, which I think sounds reasonable for a low-end estimate given how Lois and Clark's wedding earlier in the day got interrupted by the planet getting closer to Earth. That still means Apocalypse was traveling at a speed of about 66,463,333 miles per hour, or about 106,962,366 kilometers an hour. A planet of that size moving at that speed would have a kinetic energy behind it equal to 481 septillion, 258 sextillion, 266 quintillion, 593 quadrillion, 421 trillion, 900 billion megatons. For comparison, the Tsar, the most powerful nuclear weapon ever, could only output about 50 megatons. Even this lowballed calculation means that Clark could casually handle getting smacked by something equal to over 9 septillion of them at once. Holy shit! And keep in mind, all of this is still just scratching the surface of how powerful this Superman is. I mean, he has all of his powers from the comics, like the X-ray vision, the freeze breath, super healing, is immortal apparently, and the season 11 comics prove that he gets way faster and stronger after he officially becomes Superman, to the point where he can withstand universe-busting energy blasts and even headbutt a monitor. Okay, seriously? That's starting to get a little ridiculous. I was kind of rooting for this guy to pop up in the Arrowverse crisis at some point, but what would the point be? He could just casually wipe the floor with anybody he wants. I mean, damn, who the fuck could ever challenge this guy in a fight? Guess that's why they call him Superman.
So what are you, man or Superman?
I haven't figured it out yet.
But anyways guys, that's my take on how powerful the Smallville Superman is. If you guys agreed with anything I said in this video, or if you have your own calculations you want to throw out there, then go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I will see you all next time. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, then go ahead and click that like button, and if you're new, maybe consider clicking that subscribe button too. I've also got links to my Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and Patreon in the description. You should probably check those out too. And if you want to see more of my content, then you can click the link to my last video. It's right there in the middle of your screen. Alright, and I will see you all next time.